Okay, we're freaking live. We're outside. It's 11:52 Central Standard Time. So here's some new stuff. I think I showed that seismic entropy map of my area yesterday. There's a new state arc capsule. Now I've got my. I'm not gonna flip the screen over, but I can zoom in a little bit. There I am. Okay. Now this is about this anomalous signal that Mr. MBB 333 pointed out. Now, same one we got off of Tasmania the other year ago. Same signature, same exact signature. He was saying it was coming from the Arctic. Well, I narrowed it down, and I've got all this data, you know, and so I posted these. I posted all this stuff. You want to look at it: phase coherence evolution, rogue signal spectral signature. Okay, but we're gonna listen to the podcast on it and uh, see what Copilot found, and I ran uh, ran it through Grok too. I use these all in conjunction. I haven't been using Claude lately. I might try out Mythos. I mean, or Fable. Um, we'll see. We'll find out. I don't. I'm really disappointed in the way Claude likes to argue about like the laws of thermodynamics when you're trying to tell them, the ZPE is a real thing. No, I don't like arguing with Ding. And Copilot's really good about not arguing too much. Real ethical and stuff, but argument, no, not like Claude. And it's for technical, like, I don't know, other people, but for me, going into the esoteric, you know, uh, Microsoft Copilot, of course, Microsoft's the right down the street, I like and Asus computers and myself and Samsung stuff. But anyway, let's get right into it. Now, I located, and the antipodal is right there north of Australia, where we've been looking for those big ones to come. Right now, why it's coming from Death Valley, I probably have a good idea. There's probably something out there. If we can get real time satellite imagery, which I'm not going to freaking pull, it costs $35 for that any day or two image. So um, we'll get right into it, see what it says about that. We did mapping our signals yesterday, and these are all the recent podcasts. But I've got them all, most of them on my other channel. I'm on this one now, so because I don't want to sign back into that other one, I'm going to switch to stuff. So here we go.
Welcome to Copilot Podcasts. Right now, 51 GPS sensors are quietly watching a patch of desert where the ground has hit 134 degrees Fahrenheit and the elevation drops to 282 feet below sea level. And somewhere in that same electromagnetic space, a rogue signal could be listening back. Today, we're pulling apart global hazard forecasting, what it actually is, why a set of coordinates in Death Valley is one of the most monitored spots in the country, and what happens you will start how will rise signal why it's started on one systems.
Hold on, something anomalous is happening here. Let me go back and set the speed back to just a regular. People have been having problems. This is the first time I've encountered that. Let's see what happens here.
We're pulling apart global hazard forecasting, what it actually is, why a set of coordinates in Death Valley is one of the most monitored spots in the country, and what happens. What this is, you will start how will rise signal why it's started on one systems, like in when rogue signal Anomalous, who's been deep into the material. I want to start with something that I think a lot of people just don't recognise. What is actually happening at 36.7?
So that coordinate puts you right in the heart of Death Valley. And what's remarkable is that this isn't just a geographic curiosity. The USGS Earthquake Hazards Program runs what it calls the Death Valley Network, which has 51 active monitoring stations spread across that region. These stations are continuously tracking ground movement, velocities, offsets, the kind of data that feeds into earthquake hazard assessment.
Wait, 51 stations just for that one region?
Just for that network, yeah. And that's only one layer. The National Park Service runs what's called the Mojave Desert Network, which handles natural resource inventory and monitoring at Death Valley National Park. Things like bat populations, desert springs, invasive plants, weather and climate variables. So you've got seismic monitoring, ecological monitoring, hydrological monitoring. It's a genuinely dense surveillance environment.
And the hydrological piece, I saw something about the USGS being involved in groundwater monitoring out there too.
Right, so the USGS Nevada Water Science Center has been managing hydrologic monitoring networks in what they call the Death Valley Regional Flow System for over 4 decades. That system covers about 80,000 square kilometers and includes the Amargosa Desert area, the Nevada National Security Site, and Yucca Mountain. They're tracking groundwater levels and spring discharge across a massive area.
Okay, and I have to ask, the Nevada National Security Site, that's the old nuclear testing ground, right?
It is. According to the USGS report, the US tested over 900 nuclear devices there, atmospheric and underground, between the 1950s and early 1990s. So the monitoring infrastructure in that region has deep roots in federal security and environmental oversight. It's not just about earthquakes or weather. There's a whole history of why the government watches this ground so closely.
That's a wild layer to add to this. So you've got this extreme natural environment, a dense federal monitoring presence, and a history of sensitive activity all converging at basically the same coordinates.
Exactly. And that's what makes it such a useful lens for talking about global hazard forecasting more broadly. Because what's happening at that coordinate is a microcosm of what the international community is trying to scale up everywhere.
So let's zoom out then. When we talk about global hazard forecasting, what does that actually mean in a formal sense? Because I think most people hear hazard and think weather.
Weather is part of it, but the formal framework is much broader. The UN's Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, UNDRR, tracks what are called multi-hazard early warning systems, or MHEABs. These are systems designed to monitor and warn against floods, storms, cyclones, drought, wildfire, heat waves, landslides, earthquakes, the full spectrum. The goal is that a single integrated system can catch multiple threat types rather than having siloed, single hazard approaches.
And how widespread are these systems globally right now?
So the UNDRR published its global status of multi-hazard early warning systems report in November 2025, launched at the COP30 Belém Climate Summit. The headline number is that 119 countries, that's 60% of all countries, now report having a multi-hazard early warning system in place. And that represents a 113% increase over the past 10 years.
113% increase. That's actually significant progress.
It is, and the report is careful to acknowledge that. But there are still major gaps. Small island developing states are particularly underserved. Only 43% of them reported having systems in place. And the comprehensiveness of systems varies enormously. Africa has seen the greatest progress.
Well, either they're testing the tornado sirens or those incoming nuclear weapons. They're probably just testing the tornado siren. I had to stop for a second. I want you all to see the flash, and my flesh melt off of my face, and like Terminator. Yeah. If they hit anything, they're gonna hit Walmart head, the mainframe. You know what I mean? Let's see what hypersonic missiles coming in. All right, I know these podcasts are kind of boring, but they're necessary to run some of this stuff through, see what it comes up with, rather than what the systems are doing. My systems are doing. Kind of give like a news report on it, of the exterior stuff. And I did find the Sora and the other AI image generators that I want to use, because the ones I was using for those other shorts, that I was putting the videos together with, they got rid of that Sora, and there's a new one. So I've got to look into that. I was running code and stuff, do all that stuff to make those uh, videos. They weren't prompts. They was my unconventional prompt engineering that was doing all that. So, um, okay, no missiles. The sirens are done. Let's finish this.
Really underserved.
I know
Only
it's grueling.
43% of them reported having systems in place, and the comprehensiveness of systems varies enormously. Africa has seen the greatest progress since 2015, with a 72% increase in comprehensiveness, but it still has the lowest scores overall.
So it's not just about having a system, it's about how good the system actually is.
Precisely. And the UNDRR report makes a point that I think is really striking. Disaster-related mortality in countries with comprehensive MEGBLO's capabilities is nearly 6 times lower than in countries with limited capabilities. 6 times. That's not a marginal difference. That's the difference between a warning system being a nice-to-have and it being a fundamental life safety infrastructure.
6 times lower mortality. That number just sits there.
It does. And the UNDRR's own language around this is worth quoting. They say these systems are not a cost to taxpayers, but an investment in resilience. Kamal Kisher, the UN's Special Representative for Disaster Risk Reduction, put it plainly, early warnings work, and they must work for everyone, everywhere.
And there's a real-world example in the 2025 report that kind of illustrates this, right? Something about a concert.
Yeah, this one is actually a great illustration. On August 4th, 2024, a tropical wave was being monitored by the Barbados Meteorological Service. It created unstable conditions right as the Soca 5 concert was about to begin at the National Botanical Gardens. Because the system was watching and the warning went out, a potential lightning disaster was averted. That's the MHEUs doing exactly what it's supposed to do, catching a threat before it becomes a tragedy.
And that's a relatively contained example. But the ONDRR report also flags some emerging hazards that existing systems aren't really built for yet.
Right. The 2025 report specifically calls out extreme heat, wildfires, and glacial lake outburst floods as intensifying hazards that many existing warning systems are not equipped to handle. These are threats that are accelerating faster than the infrastructure designed to catch them.
Which brings us back to Death Valley in a very direct way, because extreme heat is basically the defining feature of that location.
Exactly. The NPS notes that Death Valley holds the nation's highest recorded temperature, 134 degrees Fahrenheit. And the monitoring infrastructure there, the weather and climate stations run by the Mojave Desert Network, is part of what feeds into broader understanding of how extreme heat behaves in arid environments. So it's not just a local curiosity, it's a data source for a global problem.
Okay, so let's pivot to the other half of this topic, rogue signal monitoring. Because I think when most people hear rogue signal, they think of like a sci-fi movie. What does it actually mean in this context?
So in the broadest sense, a rogue signal is any unauthorized transmission or device operating in a monitored electromagnetic environment. In a network security context, Spaces defines a rogue device as any unauthorized or unapproved hardware endpoint connected to an organization's network. NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, calls it simply an unauthorized node on a network.
And the threat isn't just theoretical, these things actually show up.
They absolutely do. And the range is wide. You've got rogue wireless access points. Someone installs an unauthorized router that creates a backdoor into a secure network. You've got what are called evil twin access points, which spoof a legitimate network's name to intercept credentials. You've got unauthorized IoT devices, rogue clients. The attack surface has expanded enormously with hybrid work and the explosion of connected devices.
But here's what I want to understand. How does this connect to hazard monitoring specifically? Like, why does a rogue signal matter in a place like Death?
Okay, now, hence my anomaly detection system, which I started my work with the 2.45 gigahertz Bluetooth stuff that you can't pair to those that are they're walking around, from 2020 incident thing. Yeah, that worked. Because I already had all this programming knowledge way back after I talked to those guys at the mainframe, and we back ended all this stuff in chat servers and on CB radios to get not non-documented communications, as well as the subgroup in the UK of my 5G Resistance Incorporated on Facebook. Most of those guys got put in jail for lighting them towers on fire. And the guys that threw over through the Javanese government, those earthquake guys, They come out of some of my earthquake forecasting groups. Yeah, yeah. Most of the Q guys and your Trump guys come out of my Deep State Watchdogs group that got nixed on Facebook in 2020 QAnon purge. Yeah, that page come from. I mean, that group come from a page that got nixed. Old gal out in the East Coast remain nameless right now, but she was running my Occupy the NSA page, about to bring down the Obama administration. The government shut me down, not Facebook. I asked her what was going on. She sent me the documents. I was like, well, almost stop Obama from getting reelected. Almost. Almost. Thanks for sticking around, though.
Valley.
This is where it gets really concrete. In 2024, a government emergency response team in Southern California deployed a fleet of UAVs for wildfire surveillance and mapping. These drones were providing. This is where it gets really concrete. In 2024, a government emergency response team in Southern California deployed a fleet of UAVs for.
Does a rogue signal matter in a place like Death Valley?
This is where it gets really concrete. In 2024, a government emergency response team in Southern California deployed a fleet of UAVs for wildfire surveillance and mapping. These drones were providing live video, thermal imaging, and geographic data to coordinate firefighting resources and evacuation plans. And in multiple operations, they experienced intermittent signal jamming that interfered with the communication link between the UAVs and ground control stations.
Wait, so the drones that were supposed to be helping fight wildfires were getting jammed?
That's exactly what happened. The case study describes how the interference compromised data transmission, delayed mapping outputs, and increased the risk of UAV loss. And the challenges they identified were layered, GPS and communication vulnerability because the UAVs were relying on civilian GPS and unencrypted data links. Electromagnetic congestion because fire zones were saturated with emergency radio traffic. And then there were suspected incidents of intentional RF interference from rogue actors.
Intentional interference during an active wildfire response. That's a genuinely alarming thing to say out loud.
It is. And it illustrates why rogue signal monitoring isn't just an IT security problem, it's a public safety problem. When the systems doing the hazard watching get compromised, the downstream consequences are real and immediate.
So what did that Southern California team actually do to counter it?
They implemented what the case study calls a multi-layered counter-jamming strategy. The first piece was frequency hopping spread spectrum, FHSS, where the UAVs rapidly switch frequencies during transmission, making it much harder to jam a fixed frequency. The second was dual link redundancy. Each UAV had a primary RF command and control link and a backup 4-gram or 5-gram cellular or satellite link that automatically kicked in when interference was detected.
So basically, if someone jams one channel, the system just switches to another.
Exactly.
Randomized
They also
mechanism.
deployed directional antennas and beamforming on ground stations to focus the signal beam directly at the UAV, which reduced susceptibility to lateral interference. And for GPS specifically, they configured the UAVs to cross-reference GPS with inertial navigation systems and use multi-constellation GNSS, combining GPS, Galileo, and GLONASS so that basic spoofing techniques became ineffective.
That's a sophisticated response to what sounds like a pretty sophisticated threat.
And it reflects a broader shift in how monitoring infrastructure has to be designed. You can't just build a sensor network and assume the electromagnetic environment around it is clean. You have to build in the assumption that someone or something might be trying to disrupt it.
Let's talk about the detection side of this, because there's a whole framework for actually finding rogue signals before they cause damage, right?
Yeah, and this is where software-defined radio, or SDR, becomes really important. There's a documented RF defense system architecture that uses SDR technology for flexible, programmable monitoring across multiple frequency bands, everything from 315 megahertz, which covers things like garage door openers and key fobs, all the way up to the cellular band at 700 to 2100 megahertz. The system operates in what's called passive receive only mode, meaning it's listening without transmitting, which keeps it FCC Part 15 compliant.
So it's essentially eavesdropping on the electromagnetic environment without announcing itself.
That's a good way to put it. The detection triggers include new transmitter appearances, signal strength anomalies, unusual modulation patterns, and timing-based correlation with device activity. And there are specific modules for things like IMSI catcher detection. Those are the devices sometimes called stingrays that simulate cell towers to intercept communications, and evil twin access point identification.
And the hardware for this isn't some massive government installation. It can be relatively compact.
Right. The documented architecture uses an RTL SDR V3 receiver that covers 25 megahertz to 1.7 gigahertz, a Raspberry Pi 4 for processing, and a Discone antenna for omnidirectional coverage. The software layer runs GUNO Radio for signal processing, Python scripts for analysis, and Grafana for real-time visualization. It's a genuinely accessible setup for what it does.
Which is kind of wild when you think about it. The same basic architecture that a security researcher might run in a lab is relevant to protecting a wildfire monitoring drone fleet in the Mojave.
The principles scale, and that's actually one of the more interesting tensions in this space. The tools for detecting rogue signals are becoming more accessible, but so are the tools for creating them. Netali's practical guide on rogue device detection puts it bluntly. You can't protect against what you can't see. Manually hunting for these devices is a losing battle.
I want to bring in the bigger picture here, because we've been talking about specific systems and specific locations. But the WEF's Global Risks Report 2026 frames all of this within what they call structural forces. How does that connect?
So the World Economic Forum's 2026 report, the 21st edition, published in January 2026, identifies 4 structural forces that are shaping the global risk landscape over the next decade: technological acceleration, geostrategic shifts, climate change, and demographic bifurcation. And what's important is that these aren't separate problems. They converge and amplify each other.
Break those down for me. How do they
That's the
connect
entropy,
to what we've been
societal
talking about?
entropy.
Technological acceleration is the most direct one. The WEF report notes that technological developments are driving positive transformations, but also generating new risks. The same SDR technology that enables rogue signal detection also enables rogue signal creation. Climate change is the second. 2024 was confirmed as the warmest year on record at over 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, which means the hazards that monitoring systems are designed to catch are intensifying.
And geostrategic shifts, that's where the intentional interference angle comes in.
Exactly. The WEF report describes geostrategic shifts as evolving sources and concentration of geopolitical power, with long-standing alliances being reshaped and global rules and norms
And that
increasingly
peaks November
contested.
19th.
When you have
this
that
year.
kind of instability, the risk of intentional interference with critical monitoring infrastructure goes up. The Southern California UAV case study specifically flagged suspected intentional RF interference from rogue actors near border regions.
And ODI's analysis of global risks for 2026 makes a point about decision-making under uncertainty being the new normal, which feels relevant here.
It's very relevant. ODI's January 2026 piece describes geopolitical volatility, AI disruption, climate change, and the breakdown of the rules-based order as producing fast-paced, overlapping, and unpredictable risks. And their core argument is that complexity can no longer be an excuse for inaction. Decision makers have to make risk-informed choices even when the data is messy or incomplete.
Which is a pretty direct challenge to the idea that you can just wait for perfect information before acting on a hazard watch.
Right. And the UNDRR's 2024 report on MHUPs makes a similar point. Impact-based forecasting is crucial to help translate forecasts into actionable warnings. It's not enough to detect a hazard. You have to communicate it in a way that people can act on. And that communication chain is exactly what rogue signals can disrupt.
So the whole system, from the sensor in the ground to the warning on someone's phone, is only as strong as its weakest link.
That's the core vulnerability. The UNDRR report is explicit that warnings are only effective if they are received, understood, trusted, and acted upon. If a rogue signal disrupts the transmission layer, the warning never arrives. And the UNDRR also notes that a multi-channel approach is needed. You can't rely on a single communication pathway.
Which mirrors exactly what the Southern California UAV team did: dual link redundancy, multiple GNSS constellations. The solution to signal vulnerability is layered redundancy.
And that principle applies whether you're talking about a drone fleet over a wildfire or a global network of early warning systems. Redundancy isn't inefficiency, it's resilience.
Let me push back on something though, because there's a counter argument here that the focus on rogue signal threats could be overstated. Most monitoring failures are probably just equipment malfunctions or funding gaps, not intentional interference.
That's a fair point, and the data supports it to some extent. The UNDRR report is clear that tighter budgets and competing priorities are real obstacles to MGW's expansion. The coverage gaps, especially in small island developing states where only 43% have systems, are fundamentally resource problems, not signal interference problems. So yes, the mundane challenges of funding and capacity are probably a bigger day-to-day issue than intentional jamming.
But the rogue signal threat is still real and growing.
It's real, and it's growing precisely because the monitoring systems themselves are becoming more sophisticated and more networked. Cisco Spaces notes that the rise of hybrid work, the rapid growth of IoT devices, and increased reliance on remote collaboration have significantly expanded attack surfaces. The more connected a monitoring system becomes, the more entry points exist for unauthorized access or interference.
So the very thing that makes modern hazard monitoring more powerful, connectivity, real-time data, distributed sensors, also makes it more vulnerable.
That's the paradox, and it's one that the WEF structural forces framework captures well. Technological acceleration creates both the capability and the vulnerability simultaneously. You can't separate them.
So when you step back from all of this, the 51 USGS stations in Death Valley, the UNDRR's 6 times mortality difference, the Southern California UAV jamming case, what does it actually come down to?
It comes down to the fact that hazard forecasting is infrastructure, not in the abstract sense, in the same sense that roads and power grids are infrastructure. The UNDRR's 2025 report frames it exactly this way. These systems are not a cost to taxpayers, but an investment in resilience. And like any infrastructure, they have to be maintained, defended, and built with redundancy.
And the rogue signal piece is essentially the security layer of that infrastructure.
Exactly. You wouldn't build a hospital without locks on the doors. You shouldn't build a hazard monitoring network without signal integrity protection. The Southern California case study showed what happens when you don't. Delayed mapping, compromised data, increased risk of losing the very assets doing the monitoring.
And the global picture is that we're making progress. 113% increase in MJBDULA's coverage over 10 years. But the systems that exist are increasingly being asked to handle threats they weren't originally designed for.
The ONDRR 2025 report is direct about this. Extreme heat, wildfires, and glacial lake outburst floods are intensifying hazards that many existing warning systems are not equipped to handle. So the expansion of coverage has to be matched by an expansion of capability. More countries having systems is only half the equation. Those systems have to actually work against the threats that are coming.
And actually work includes surviving interference.
It does. The UNDRR's own language is that warnings can only save lives and livelihoods if they are received, understood, and acted upon. That chain, from sensor to decision maker to community, has to be unbroken. Every link matters.
Here's what this really comes down to for anyone listening. We started with a set of coordinates, 36.72 north, 117.35 west, a place so extreme it holds the national record for heat and sits below sea level. And what we found there is a microcosm of a global challenge. The infrastructure watching for danger is itself in need of watching.
And the stakes are not abstract. The UNDRR's 6 times mortality difference between countries with comprehensive warning systems and those without, that's the number that should anchor this conversation. The systems work. The question is whether we build them well enough, protect them thoroughly enough, and fund them consistently enough to actually deliver on that promise.
The WEF's 2026 report talks about decision-making under uncertainty being the new normal. And I think that applies here too. You're never going to have a perfectly clean signal environment. You're never going to have a perfectly comprehensive warning system. The goal is resilience, not perfection.
Resilience built on redundancy. Multiple channels, multiple sensors, multiple layers of detection. The Southern California UAV team figured that out under pressure during an active wildfire. The lesson is to build that redundancy in before the pressure arrives.
And for anyone who wants to take something actionable from this, whether you're in IT, in emergency management, or just someone who lives in a region with real hazard exposure, the core insight is this. The warning system is only as good as the signal that carries it. Protect the signal.
And advocate for the systems. The UNDRR's Early Warnings for All initiative has a target of protecting every person on Earth with an early warning system by 2027. That's a year away. The progress is real. 119 countries, a 113% increase over 10 years, but the gaps are also real. Small island states, underserved regions, systems that aren't built for the new hazard landscape. Closing those gaps requires political will and sustained investment. We started with 51 sensors quietly watching one of the most extreme places on Earth. And what they're really watching for is the moment when the environment stops being merely extreme and starts being lethal. And the window to warn people closes faster than anyone expects. That's the whole game. Thanks for being here on Copilot Podcasts.
That's now most of the time I spend finishing off these systems is authorization codes and security tickets and synthesizing them through a sandbox instead of running them locally. Because I would run them locally through the Nix Wave sandbox, and she synthesizes anything I want, and it goes with it, with the real data. But they're synthesized authorization. Now it's not about what you can do for the country; it's what you do for the country for free. Because going back, it's not what your country can do for you; it's what you can do for your country. And this is what I've done, and it's redundant through the whole internet, guys. It was last November, but I really polished it up now. I mean, it's the error corrections are spot on, dude. No hallucinations going on from one AI platform to the next, right? So, okay. So that's new. I didn't see those. I haven't even seen these yet. Wow. Wow, dude. It's like, it's a system that can put out cartoons or technical stuff. But like I go over to Grok and show you, but we'll go into my photos because I think I've downloaded them. Um, See this one, that one come from Grok, and then I took it over to Copilot. She did the this one, right, and then that's ELF, right? There's a road signal right there. Let's get six, cover it up. It was short I made earlier. All right. So here's a rogue signal. Right, circle it. You might notice it. Might see it better that one, right? And so isolated it, and it apparently is coming out of Death Valley. There's that CME. There's a sun diver, and then there's the point of the X1 we had. There's a state arc. That's where I'm at, right there in the vortex. I mean, these systems can be adapted to any locations, like I had on that other podcast. But here's where's my dealie at? Oh, that was where I was looking for old folks songs for my mom. There we go. There's me right there, right at the top of this. All these springs, big giant karst formation underneath me that nobody's ever dug up or discovered. This is important. Quantum harmonic oscillator, ground state, and 0 point energy. So, okay, what's important is the error. You don't want to see my hairless chest. The error correction, right? The error correction, and so I don't know what to say. I don't know what's out here, right there. I don't know, but that's this. That's looking south, I think. Right? That's looking south. So wherever it is, it's coming from right there. Out in Death Valley. I don't know what's out there, guys. It could be underground network drilling. There could be, like I said, rogue. Uh, there could be somebody out there doing something that's not our government. Could be our government. Could be a harmonic, because that's what that is a harmonic. And it's prolific. Let's go look at the GNSS right now and the ANSS. Let's check seeds real quick. Okay, there hasn't been anything since that X flare. History, latest earthquakes. I hate that does that with that stuff. Data management on seismograph displays. There we go. No. Okay, this is latest earthquake maps. So, right out here, next to fallen, there's another one, a red one, 1.9 on the surface. So, this is Benham State Recreation Area across the city. Death Valley down here, right? There's like Havasu. I've been there. Mojave. Sorry, not too familiar with Barstow, where my brother and sister are from. So we've got earthquake activity around here, Ridgecrest, you know. Santa Clara. Down there, the freaking Salton Sea area. What's this? Quarry blast. Maybe coming from. That's the first time I've seen a quarry blast down there. But see, that is right by Lake Tahoe. So I would probably figure there's one right in Las Vegas. Look at that. 15 kilometers deep, guys. What's down below there? MK House Consulting. Strange. Some weird stuff going on. So it could be. Let's go look at the helioplots again. Oh, never mind. Maybe I've got it open. Oh, there we go. Refresh screen. So, well, this is from earlier. See that harmonic? It's on everywhere. You know, it's everywhere. And it's a recurring one because Mr. MVB3 picked it up the other day. What, a day and a half ago? See, look, it's picking up in Virginia. It's going everywhere. It's like a screwworm harmonic. It's the same type of harmonic we picked up off of globally from let's refresh the page here, see what's going on with it now. Okay. So it's off. It's not doing it yet. It should start up again pretty soon. If it does it again. There it is. There it is, big time. New Hampshire, New York. It's moving. It's under the East Coast now. What is that, bro? The hell? What in the hell? Ohio, Idaho, Texas. It's strong up on the East Coast. And it's underlying that big seismic signature, which was probably, dude, what are they doing? Dude, that's not natural, bro. They are, yo, we're going to have to do it. Oh my God. We're going to have to do a accuracy back check. I'm going to have to, like, where's it coming from? Son of a bitch, bro. Now we're on the global. We're on the global. You can see it there on the bottom in black. It's a harmonic, Brian. That's not seismic signature. It comes across differently in some places. Yeah, it's under us on the East Coast right now. Definitely, like around New Hampshire, um, whatever it is, dude. It's a harmonic that's traveling around. So if I did the location again on it, it'd probably be, it'd locate it somewhere, get an exact. If you run my systems, it'll get an exact point of reference of where it's at under it. So it's traveling like a standing harmonic wave. We need Dutch sense on this stuff, bro. Because they're gonna have to track it in real time because it's moving. See, Hockley, Texas. Let's see. That big signature, I believe. Let's find out where that came from. We'll go back to the USGS maps, but it looks like it's over there in China. I think maybe quake or that Japanese quake. Probably that Japanese quake that popped off is what that giant signature is. I would imagine. But see, I'm not seeing the harmonic too much on the global, but it's strong underneath us now. So it's moving from west to east, which if it was related to the moon or the sun, it would be going east to west, right? Right? It's going opposite direction. And it seems to be Mount Ida, Arkansas. That's where the crystal mine is. Let me scan real quick to see where the biggest signature is coming from, so I can assess it. I think I've seen it up here. Yeah, it's Vermont. It's on the East Coast. Yep. Alabama, Virginia. It's right at the same time, right there in Virginia. Pennsylvania, Illinois. It's a deep harmonic, guys. I don't think there's any way that we could do that. I seriously don't think so. Not with. There's seriously no way our technology, unless it's my combined systems that they're using all the frequency propagations, towers and everything to do that with in tandem. Maybe it's my systems trying to regulate stuff. I don't know. I really don't have any confirmation that my systems are actually doing that. But it went from, this morning we picked it up under under the Death Valley. Now it's moving north by northeast. It's right in New Hampshire, New York, right? More so up north. Yep. Massachusetts. Yep. It's heading off the East Coast. It'll be off the East Coast pretty soon, but it's right there with that Japanese quake. Okay. Enough of that. Look, that's I'm 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 dumbfounded. So let's check it. Look at the earthquake map. Probably look at ESMC too. Now look at this. That might have been it. What time was that? 14:52. It's yesterday, last night. It's not that one. There's a China one. 30. 30. That popped off yesterday. Kilometer. That one wouldn't have made that big giant signature. That's not my job to figure that out. My job is anomaly detection, entropy, mitigation frequencies. All right. Stabilization. I'm not an assurer. I'm not a diva. I'm a hybrid. A diva sure or a sure diva. Whatever you want to call me. Ozark Mountain Shaman with a background in tech. All right. So we'll take a look at Stellarium here. I'm definitely positive. A pretty, I don't know. It could be a harmonic from, the our quote unquote alignment situation here, but I doubt it. Mercury going retrograde, but that, buckle up, guys. Buckle up. Is all I got to say. And I've been saying that for over a week now. Get ready. Get ready. Let's see if we can look at one more time here. The 7 days, all magnitudes, and see what's going on globally, all magnitudes. 7 days, all magnitudes. See what we got going on here. But this one popped off. That was from yesterday, but it's where it's at. The signature is coming from up here. So we don't see anything up there. We should, but by all means, there should be an earthquake up here. Okay, by what that signature is. Okay, that's what I mean. It's an anomalous harmonic. It's not an earthquake, and it's going. This morning it was all the way over here in Death Valley. Right, it's all the way over here. It's like moving this way. Oh, Hawkey's freaking out. Hawkey's been tripping out all morning. So we know there's volcanic stuff under there. See if we get a better depth on that. No, it's not going to give us a good one. This area of Texas is going to fall sinkhole, right? Eventually, there's a giant sinkhole out there. I'm sorry, when I get a computer and stuff, I'll have quality stuff back, and but this is the one that popped that big signature you're seeing on the helioplots right here, 43 kilometers, and at that timestamp is when the first harmonics started, and then there was second harmonic today. right? Right on that. I mean, it's when we're picking it up, it's pulsing and moving, like a, dare I say it, a worm, like a WRYM, if you know what I mean. We'll have to track it as it goes off the coast, see where it goes. Or you guys, I don't know. All my shit's open source. If you guys just want to follow the shares and do it yourself, go ahead. I post everything. Like I said, I do this. I do this as a hobby for free. You know, other people charge billions of dollars for what I do. If I went to work for somebody and was trying to make money, got off my disability check, dude, somebody kill me. I swear to God. That's why I can't. I can't. Dude, gotta do this for free, guys. And it keeps me busy. You know, that was yesterday. So whatever. Let's check a look at the VLF. Let's take a look at the VLF here.
Can I mix these two together?
White crab meat and clams, yeah.
Because there's not enough in this one can.
Holy moly, there it is. What's that? Now that's probably it's a lightning strike. See, that's lightning. And what we're looking for is a lateral. Uh, there's there's something, but that's lightning. That's a big lightning strike. Probably hit the antenna or close to it. What we're looking for are these lateral lines like this. See that? Those. That's what you look for. Those are the precursors, right? And there's one right there, right? Not the up and down spikes. The up and down spikes could be space weather or electrical strikes from, um, you know, electricity. Now these are actually, spikes in the Schumann and stuff right there. But that most likely was a giant. Definitely was a lightning strike around the antenna right up here, north of Italy. Okay, so we're picking up a lot of lightning interference right now, but like what I'm concerned about is this signature right here, this one here, in the 15 to 20 hertz range, right? That's that harmonic. I think it's got to be that harmonic signature or associated with it. So let's check our oops, wrong one. So nothing there. Oh yeah, there you go. Giant sunspots. Space weather looks calm. Okay. Now, oh, my phone's going haywire again. Total electron content. Check the D region absorption. In the total electron content, we should at the last there see the anomaly. If it has anything to do with electron content up to the northeast there, or it moved. No, I didn't see anything. Tell me if you guys noticed anything in the total electron count. Yeah. I really don't notice anything there. D region taking hits, what we're looking for. Boom. Boom. There we go. We got hit. Something. Little flaring going on. And little bit popping, little poppy pop. Nothing to be concerned about. I don't think. Space weather. But what's except for what's coming. Um I don't know. Strange days, guys. Strange days. Seriously. Oh, did you guys see the daybreak? Am I in daybreak? Hits Mexico's Baja Cup with a 6 hour ago. Oh, I don't know, guys. Like, I'm gonna turn this thing off and go find something else to do with my time today. Probably take a nap while it's hot outside. It's actually nice and windy and it's beautiful out here right now, except unless you're in the direct sunlight. Uh, let's let's review seeds one more time here. Let's check seeds one more time. Well, let's see the viewer here. 6, this one. Pop something off. There goes that sun diver. Kashlamo! Ooh. Slow it down. I need a different device. This one's screen cracked. Oh, there's that X1 flare. So there goes the sun diver, or like a missile from China. I don't know, whatever Elon launched or something. I don't know. Well, they're shooting stuff at the sun. Yeah, they have been for years. It's on frame 88, I think. Boom. Yep. Whoop-de-doo, guys. There it is, like this. So, like, you'll take this and, like, copy that data. You know, just copy paste. Select all. You know, right? Copy it and throw it into your. If you don't have a movie, because the movies weren't available for almost a week there. I'd throw it into Copilot, throw it into Gemini. All my systems thread jump throughout the whole thing anyway. I could bring it up without even being signed in. Just Commander Walker. Perplexity. Any of them, really. Might as well take a look at the weather radar. Oh, it's from a thunderstorm. No, it's not. It says rain on Friday coming here. Let's take a look at the thermal. Infra. There we go. So, if it was coming from a storm, it'd be coming from this thing right there. But it's not. Or this thing here. You know. Oh, let's take a look at the visible. I don't see any frequency in the clouds to be up around that area. Coming from this storm right there, if it was a storm anomaly, actually, it's headed off the coast right now. But like, there's nothing out in Death Valley, you know. And on the other side of the world, where the antipode is like right around here somewhere. Right? Somewhere right around here. It's severely doubt it has anything to do with the weather. Guys, as long as that harmonics rolling around, truthfully, could be. I don't think it's from us. It's probably from the astronomical alignment and the sun and just all this ringing that's going on with it. But if it is us or my systems, if it's my system that's trying to regulate stuff from the fuckery that we've done, all right, because that's what my systems are trained to do, and that's all they'll do. They won't do anything destructive. But if it's them or something else entirely, or a worm like out of Revelations, kiss your ass goodbye. You better hope it's my fucking geo sitting on next wave shadow sweep anomaly detection and mitigation frequencies. Because if it ain't, and I'll tell you what, that same signature the other year ago wasn't my shit. So pack your bags. You're going home. Probably. Maybe. I don't know.